I think probably that life is hard and challenges are going to come up, and it's really about you to figure it out.
Yeah.
And you can, will, and
Yeah.
it's
Oh
not going
yeah.
to look like how you
Yeah.
and embrace that and lean into it and don't be afraid to don't do something you don't enjoy
Hmm.
and figure out what fulfills you.
Hey everyone, welcome back to More Than 94, where we're all about helping athletes transition into professional life beyond sports. I'm your host Nini, and today's episode is brought to you by an incredible initiative that's making waves at HBCUs across the country, Project Courage. Project Courage, powered by Matrix Fitness, is empowering students and professionals at the 107 historically black colleges and universities to explore careers in the fitness and wellness industry. Their program's mission is to create opportunities for the underrepresented through authenticity, generosity, and engagement. That's courage. They are opening doors, elevating voices, and providing real-world experience to students and graduates, making sure that the next generation of health and wellness professionals truly reflect the diversity of our world. As a former collegiate athlete, I know firsthand how important it is to find your passion after sports. Fitness has always been a part of my journey, and Project Courage is showing young people at HBCUs that there are so many opportunities out there, whether that's in training, sports science, wellness, entrepreneurship, or beyond. So whether you're a student or a professional looking to connect with others in the industry, or even just curious about what's possible, Project Courage has your back. It's about more than just finding a job, it's about finding your calling and making an impact. So we'll be diving into today's episode shortly, but before we do, I just want to give a huge thanks to Project Courage for sponsoring this episode and supporting our mission here at More Than 94. What's up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of More Than 94, where athletes redefine success. Today we have Caroline Starr. She is from Benton, Arkansas, a collegiate athlete former collegiate athlete. She played basketball at Arkansas State University, and today she is a wholesale floral buyer. Flowers are what is keeping her busy every day. She's in charge of buying flowers for wholesale floral companies located in her hometown, and she worked closely with dozens of flower farms in Ecuador and Colombia to bring fresh roses and flowers all the way to the coolers in Benton, Arkansas. Once the flowers arrive from South America, they resell them to flower shops across the state. Welcome to More Than 94, Caroline Starr.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being on. So,
I've seen this. I'm like, when is she going to ask me to be on this? Getting a little
listen,
jealous.
I'm going down the line. Listen, I'm going down the
Oh, well,
line.
I'm glad to know where I'm at on the. No, I'm
And
just kidding.
then I didn't see you on social media, and then so I'm like, I see Starr on here a little bit more often. I'm gonna ask her to be on the podcast.
Yeah, I'm just not on very often.
Yeah,
I mean, I get on here and
yeah,
there, but I wouldn't say
yeah.
I'm actively on.
Right.
But
But
that's
so the
okay.
first question is, like I know a little bit of your background, but like, how did you get into sports? Like, when you take us through that part, like how did you get into sports, and then how did you know that you were good enough to play Division I basketball?
So I got into sports at a young age. I feel like growing up in Benton, everyone I knew, I guess, you were playing sports.
Mm-hmm.
We were playing softball growing up and basketball. I feel like those were probably the most popular sports,
Yeah.
especially for uh, little girls at the time. So I feel like I started playing basketball when I was in second grade. My parents got me me and my sister a basketball goal for Christmas, and just started playing, all the time. And I, I feel like my parents never had to like tell me to go practice anything. It was something I was naturally drawn to, and I feel like as I was growing up, I seemed to get better and better with practice. And I feel like at some point, once I realized I could play at a higher age group than what, I was in, I feel like that's kind of when it clicked that maybe, you're a little bit better than your peers in a sense, even though you don't necessarily feel that way. But when they're like, oh, you could play, if you're in junior high and they're saying you could play in high school, I mean, they won't let you play in high school, but they're saying you could, then
Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of the signal when everyone starts, I guess, telling you. I don't know if I ever really thought I was elite. Um, Probably not until scholarships came into play.
Yeah, and
But I
so
would
like, but
say
how do you
with
become a shooter though? Because you was the shooter, so you had to be.
I'm not really sure about that part. Honestly, I feel like in high school, I don't remember being the shooter. I feel like
Really?
that came into. Honestly, I don't know. You might have to fact check me. I'm not sure, but I feel like at some point in college, I want to say it may have been my first play in college. I remember as a freshman, I got into the game, those exhibition games. I think we were playing some in-state team that we have to beat. And I'm pretty sure I shot the first time I got the ball, but I was like 2 steps in front of the three-point line, and I shot it. Coach Boyer pulls me over there. And, I'm a freshman. I feel like he went easy on me maybe for this one time, but he's like, I don't mind the shot, but I want you to take 2 steps back because he wanted me to
It's
shoot a
either a
three-point.
3 or a 2. We ain't going.
Yeah, and I feel like that kind of became my role on the team of just, there were other players who were better than me at attacking the basket, and maybe I'm a better outside shooter than my teammates, and I feel like
Yeah.
that's where it came into play because I don't necessarily feel like I played that role in high school on my like school team or my travel team. I feel
Okay.
like I did more of everything, but I'm not. That's how I feel about it, but I'm not sure. I would have to ask my
I came
coaches,
2 years later, so I'm thinking by that time you probably was like the coin. Like that's all we knew. Like, oh, Carolina's shooting the ball. Like so, when
yeah.
I came in two
Well, and I
years later,
feel
by
like
that time you had already taken on that
were you two
title.
years after me?
I think so.
You weren't
Or a
Schlipp's
year.
class, were you?
I was
Was it a
no,
year?
I was a year. No, I was 2. You was 3 years ahead of me. Yeah,
Okay.
because a
So I don't.
freshman and then you were
I don't remember.
junior. You were junior and I was a
Yeah,
freshman.
yeah, junior and freshman. Okay. Whew. Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, I feel like at that point I kind of got like that's what my role morphed into in
Yeah.
college of just shoot the ball and I feel like there were players ahead of me that were the shooters, and I feel like that maybe was the role that I was like recruited into,
Yeah.
uh, you know, being this next type player to fill this, certain position within the what offensive motion that we were
Motion.
playing, and so
Yeah.
motion,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, motion. Good old days, motion and
oh yeah,
Roscoe. I know all the plays.
oh gosh,
I still run the out of bounds play one when I go to the team.
oh my gosh,
It's,
I probably would. We need to have a reunion and just run through the
do the
plays.
plays.
I bet
They
I
never
bet
change.
everyone
They
I
never
bet
change.
everyone could do them. I mean, seriously, all
they
of them.
they never change. I'm like I knew all the positions from the 1 to the 5, like every one of them to this day. It's so terrible. But anyway, so after
Ingrained
college,
in your memory.
ingrained for sure. So after college, kind of take us through like your journey of what you do after college because I'm excited to know what you were doing after you graduated.
Okay, so after college, it's not really that exciting. So after college, I went to grad school. I feel
Oh
like in college, as far as like academics went, I mean, I don't know how you were. I know there's some like Britt. Britt knew exactly what she wanted to do as soon as
yeah.
she was a certain age. She knew she wanted to be an engineer. That was not me. Still
Mm.
isn't me to some extent. Um, and so once I graduated college, I went to grad school at OU. So I moved to Norman and
Okay.
was there for a couple years. It was an amazing experience to just be on a college campus, not an athlete. There's not,
Mm-hmm.
these, I don't know, commitments or
Right.
things like
Practices,
that.
wait,
You're
6
going to be
a.m.
a college
Yeah.
student. Yeah. Yeah. So I got to have a few years of being a college student, and it
Yeah.
was the best experience.
That's good.
Norman's such a fun place. OU's a fun campus. And so I did grad school for 2 years there. And then after grad school, I thought, oh, I thought all along I'm going to be a coach. I'm going to be involved in sports in some
Yeah.
capacity. after being an athlete. And then, so at OU, I worked at the recreation center on campus. I was a grad assistant there. And then I also worked in the ticket office for the Sooners. So I got to go to all their sporting events and work the ticket booth, which was a lot of fun. But I thought, oh, I'm gonna, and those were also my degrees. I guess I should say that part. I did get degrees basically to work in the athletic field. And I thought, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. And so after Norman, I went to Monticello, Arkansas, which, if you're not familiar with Arkansas,
Oh, I
this is like
remember now. With Coach Ray.
Southern Arkansas with Coach Ray. Coach Ray's first season as a head coach, which was, a big deal. I was really happy for her. I thought, oh, if I'm going to be a coach, this would be a great situation for me to be comfortable with someone who's known me for a long time. We've known each other. And so I thought, okay, let's do it. I went down there and it was just.
First of all, it's Monticello, Arkansas. First of all, like, what is there?
There's nothing. There's nothing in Monticello, Arkansas. It's not even the same sentence as Jonesboro, which I just thought, oh, well, I mean, I'm going to be involved with basketball. Everything, that'll be fine. I won't have to worry there's nothing there, which won't be a big deal. But, I feel like what I didn't realize about being a coach is just the time commitment in that aspect of calling recruits, just back to that schedule of basically being an athlete again, but you're the adult part of it, where you're calling recruits, you're doing all these things for travel. I mean, I was driving the team bus to games.
Oofies.
Which was a lot of pressure for me. I'm like,
you don't have to pay your CDL?
I got my CDL. I mean, it took me I wish I could tell you how many times it took me to get my CDL.
Oh my God.
Like, mostly the written part. Me and the police officer, I wish I could remember his name. We became like, he was rooting for me every time I came to take this test. And eventually I passed it. And so Coach Ray had me driving that bus to all our away games. I'm washing jerseys, I'm calling recruits, I'm doing classroom checks. I mean, it's a lot.
Yeah.
And I feel like we were also losing.
Yeah, that makes it 10 times worse.
Coach Ray's first season, so I feel like there's also kind of a learning curve for her.
And pressure just being new.
Yeah, I mean, just being new, it's a small town. I mean, I didn't really know anyone. Everyone there kind of already had their circle of friends, so you're kind of an outcast also in that sense.
Yeah.
I'm very young, and I just feel like it wasn't what I was thinking it would be. And I was like, I don't know. I just did this for such a long time in college. And then I got this taste of being in Norman where it's like, I get to enjoy the sports part of it, but like not the pressure part of it.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I can't do this. I don't want to give all my time to recruit 18 to, I guess 18 at that point because they'd just be freshmen. So 18-year-olds, trying to get them to, and I'm sure it's even more different now. I mean, this was a long time ago of just trying to get kids to talk to you and, try to figure out if they want to come to your school, if they're even interested at all. I mean, it was just a lot to take on at a young age. And, some of my friends that are still coaching or coached for a long time, I mean, I'm just like, hats off to you. I think the people that do it, maybe they really do love it. Just like, I figured that out quick. But I don't know.
So you lasted one season? How many seasons you last?
One season. One. So after we lost that last game, and we got back to Kansas and Coach Ray. I think I'm gonna move to Fayetteville. And, that's when I started selling cowboy boots.
Okay.
So after one season of coaching, I just was like, this is not for me. I don't think I'm gonna do this anymore. I'm gonna try something different. And I moved to Fayetteville and started working for a online retail company that was starting to grow very big in the area. And so I sold cowboy boots. They kind of have like trying to think, maybe 5 websites, but it was like a
Hey.
big brand with 5
Yeah.
websites, but the biggest one was called Country Outfitter. And so I started working there in customer service, and
Okay.
that's where I'm like, wow, I really wanted to go from basketball to talking to
This is it.
customers on the phone about something
Yeah.
I don't buy. So I did that, and I was at Country Outfitter, I think, for like 5 years,
Oh,
maybe
okay.
longer, and just worked my way up to different departments, but kind of landed in this role of purchasing and buying, which is kind of how, flowers get connected here soon. Of eventually, I took over overseeing the buying of the cowboy boots and other just
Okay.
brands and apparel, and bringing them in to our warehouse to ship them to customers. And I feel like it plays into my strengths of just like detail oriented.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm good at decent at spreadsheets, and just still have to talk to people and sort things out. And I feel like maybe that's one of my strengths too,
Yeah.
communication. And it just worked out well. It was a fun job, a lot of fun people to work with. And it's in Fayetteville, and so I got to be around my family more, and that was also
Yeah.
a plus for me. And I was there for a while, and then they eventually started doing layoffs, so I got laid off. And then I went to work at another company called Procter and Gamble, and that was a very different experience because they're just a global
Mm-hmm.
brand. And so I kind of just worked on the ground level of dispersing stuff for their like distribution centers, which was kind of you don't really have any impact. You're just kind of showing up into this role that really, it's the kind of the one that's going to have the most turnover, and they'll move on to a different role, and someone else starts there, and then they
Yeah.
kind of move up, and so on and so forth. And so, yeah, that was just like, that was a great company to work for. There was a lot of bonuses with them, but I just wasn't fulfilling in a sense of, at Acumen, or Country Outfitter, I was there and got to see it grow, and that
Right.
was where you're like making a difference. And so that just wasn't happening there. So I went and told them, I'm gonna take time off, and we're gonna go travel. And so
Become a world traveler.
world traveler. So we sold all of our stuff and bought a one-way ticket and took off backpacking for 6 months.
And so,
And
how
so
did y'all
that
come
was,
to that conclusion? Like, like
you
today, we
know,
just gonna go backpacking, buy, sell all our stuff. Which I think that's great that y'all get to do all. Like, I think it's good for people to see that like you tried this and I didn't like it. It wasn't
yeah,
fun. Like, let's try
yeah,
something different and do something
yeah,
different. You don't have to be
yeah,
like stuck. And things,
yeah,
like, and things are things. Like, you sold your. I'm not even. I'm impressed. I'm impressed that y'all sold your things, but like, it's just stuff. And so, but the
yeah,
fact that y'all bought a one-way ticket and backpack, now I don't know if I could do that, but
yeah. Well, it kind of started festering while I was at Country Outfitter, and just came across a website, and I'm like, oh, this nomadic mat makes you sound like anybody could travel. You just make the decision, save money, and you do
yeah,
it.
yeah,
And that just kept playing in the back of my head, especially then when it's like you're showing up to a job
hmm,
5 days a week, all day long, and you're unfulfilled. And it's like,
yeah,
why? And I think that just, we felt the same way. It's like,
hmm,
well, let's do this. The time is now. Uh, it's gonna be. We'll get a job when we come back.
yeah,
We decided to sell everything we felt like we couldn't replace, and yeah, we just did it. My wife is her family is in Germany, so we
oh,
basically
okay,
bought a one-way ticket to Germany, and we
okay,
started there, and then just traveled around Europe and did
that's
house
fun.
sitting. We house sit different places in Europe, and then we flew over to Asia, did some house sitting there, and spent 3 months
That's
there, and
brave.
then
Hey, house sitting some
I had
random,
never been
like,
out
that's
of the
brave.
country.
Oh, oh. So the most crazy thing we went to this is when I graduated. We went to the Amazon. We went to Brazil,
Oh wow,
and that was pretty
yeah,
fun.
that
But
sounds awesome.
but I came back home. But um,
Well, it was a fun announcement to like our families of like,
yeah,
hey, so we are going to
bounce on y'all. We be back. So how long did y'all
yeah,
do
pretty
that?
much. So we
A
did it for
year?
6 months.
Oh, 6 months. Okay.
Yeah, it felt longer, but I
Yeah.
feel like after 3, so you can only stay in Europe a certain amount of time,
Okay. Yeah.
and so that's when we were like, oh, okay, now we'll go to Asia, and I feel like just got to the point where it's probably time to come home. We'd experienced all we could,
Yeah.
and at some point the monies will start running out.
Like no more house sitting available. No. So how do you
um,
think? How do you think? Like, if any, how do you think sports kind of like prepared you for that? That because you did a lot in that time frame from leaving, graduating, obviously, and then going to the next thing. How
yeah,
do you think sports kind of affected, like, in any kind of way, like prepared
I
you for
mean, I
any of
feel
that?
like I feel like sports gives you discipline.
Yeah.
I think discipline, I feel like you just have a different kind of focus and preparation.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of planning that goes on into, something like travel or just, um, you know, deciding you're going to stop something and do something else. I mean, I feel like there are things that challenge you in sports that are hard, but you figure out, well, how am I gonna beat this press? How am I gonna beat this? And I feel like
Mm.
that's like that mindset that I think sports instills in you is something that you can apply
Yeah.
in different areas of your life. Because I feel like whenever I was trying to get a job, I mean, I was trying to explain in like cover letters of like, well, here's how I have all this experience in sports and athletics.
Right.
Here's how it
Like.
translates to just being a professional.
Right.
And I think that that's kind of it. I'd just say that the mindset and discipline it gives you the confidence that, oh, I can do that. Or if I can't do it, I know I can learn it. And I know
For
I'll learn
sure.
it fast. And I
Yeah.
know that I will work hard and practice and I'll be the best one at it. And I think
Right.
that is from playing sports, for me at
Mm.
least.
Yeah.
I just think that it's just something that you just
It just
it's
sticks
just
with you.
in you at some point, and yeah, it sticks with you for sure.
Mm. You figure it out,
Yeah,
and all. And hey, how do I get on the court? Listen, I don't care if
yeah.
I'm. Listen, me, I don't care if I'm a freshman or not. How I'm getting on that court, like.
Exactly,
No, listen.
exactly.
So now we fast forward to get to flowers, which it seems like you pretty much enjoy a lot of doing. Obviously, it's a little bit from your last boot, purchasing and stuff like that. But how
Yeah.
did you come upon like the flower situation?
So the flower situation, when we got back from our trip, just trying to figure out, oh, what do we do next? When we came back from our trip, we had probably a decent amount of time just trying to figure out the next thing. A lot of personal things were going on with family members getting sick and nephew came into play, which is all awesome. And then actually, so the flower business, the connection is Leslie. Her
Leslie
family
Larson.
owns Leslie Larson. Her family owns a wholesale company in Benton,
Okay.
and they had been operating for a long time, and they were trying to figure out how to buy more direct flowers. And Leslie just thought, with my history of working already in online retail, that she thought I'd be a good fit, and so she
Yeah.
talked to me about it one day, and we drove down to Benton and met with her brother, and we just kind of hit it off. And I got to see. I went down there in January, so they were gearing up for Valentine's Day basically at that point. So I really got to get
Oh,
a
it's real
great,
busy.
a great, yeah, great view of what they do and what he was wanting to do. And I thought, I don't know anything about flowers, but I know I can learn. And
Yeah.
I know that what you're wanting to do, I think I can figure that out.
Right.
And I feel like it was just kind of exactly what I needed. Just something where I could, like or Country Outfitter, I got to have such an impact
Pack,
on what
right.
was happening, and I knew I could have that here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so just went for it. Moved to Benton for a few years, learned the flower business. Um, After a few years, we've moved back to Fayetteville, so now I work remotely, which is really nice, and just go to Benton a couple times a year for the big holidays. And
That's nice. I like
um,
Fayetteville. Fayettille's nice. If I had to pick somewhere to
yeah,
live in
Fayetteville's
Arkansas,
great.
I would pick Fayetteville for sure.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, just yeah, going off all the other options in
yeah,
Arkansas, I
yes,
feel like this is kind of the obvious choice.
yes. It's just
um,
outdoorsy and it's a nice place.
yes,
I like it. I like it.
yeah, it's great. So,
Yeah,
and it's nice to work remote, and so that's kind of how the flower thing came along, and I feel like it just works out well with what I like to do. And it's, the flower business is just interesting, and it's kind of challenging, and planting all the flowers for the big holidays. I don't know, I like
yeah.
it.
I think as a former athlete, I don't want to say for all, because I want to say all of us are built the same. Is you got your lazy athletes. I feel like the ones that
Yeah,
really did well or really kind of took it serious.
yeah,
Because even at Division 1, sometimes folks don't take it serious. So
yeah,
I feel like those people do, want a challenge. And so it's just like getting that it's even though you're dealing with the same thing as the flower, but every year something's going, or it's a challenge to figure out how I
yeah,
can do something better or how can I improve this system. Because I'm more
yes,
same way, like type A personality. Like
yeah,
I want to get to something to where it's like well-oiled machine, like how we get it there, and then I will. The difference is I'm way more concerned about the task than the people. I will worry about the people after the fact the task is done. So the
there
goal
you
is
go.
so that's good. This is that it's. I think ultimately, now that I look back, I'm like, it's not even about what field you in. It's just the fact that is it challenging?
Yes,
Is what I'm saying? Is it get them? If is my day gonna
yeah,
look the same or Monday? Like we need something. I get bored quick. Like I figured it out.
yeah,
So what's next to figure out? Like I want to figure out the next
right,
thing. And so I
yes,
think that's when you get, because I mean I worked, which wasn't, I worked for Rhonda for like 7 years,
yeah,
but I had
yeah. What
got
are you? I don't even know what are you doing now? I know you worked for Rhonda for a long time. That's why I was like, well, where is she now?
in
What are
Jonesboro I
you
worked for
doing?
7 years with Rhonda, and I
Yeah,
kind of figured that out. So it was like, it was like I could do it in my sleep. So then I got bored. That's not the
yeah,
reason why I left, but anyway, I worked
yeah.
there for 7
Off the record, I would love to know the reason why you left.
Today's episode is brought to you by our amazing sponsors, Gearhead Outfitters of Jonesboro, Arkansas. Whether you're looking for the best outdoor gear, activewear, or perfect pair of shoes, Gearhead Outfitters has you covered. With top brands and expert staff, they make sure you're ready for your next adventure, whether it's hiking, running, or just being active. Gearhead Outfitters believes in supporting local communities, and just like More Than 94, they're all about helping you reach your full potential. Visit them in store or online at gho.com. Again, gho.com for all your outdoor needs. Big thank you to Gearhead Outfitters for supporting athletes, redefining success beyond the game. Now let's jump back in to today's episode.
On the record, I understand.
I got you. Yeah. So worked there for 7 years. Then I had Houston. Stayed at home for a year. And at the time, now that I look back, like you don't know. Like I tell anybody, like I thought being you're a kid. You thought waking up at 6 a.m. is hard. It's hard work.
Yeah,
I had a kid. That's the hardest thing I've ever in my life done by far. Not even just having like not even like physically birthing them, but just having kids, having
yeah,
to deal with kids every day. Like it's the
yeah.
hardest job ever. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
getting a dose of that right now, and I'm just
Yeah,
like,
it's tough because then
how did you?
then it's just like the oldest is me, so I'm just like some things I just can't even like. What do you do? Like
Yeah, what do you do?
I'm over here
What do
trying to
you
raise
do?
this.
I don't tell us. I mean, like, I'm like,
I don't even know.
how do I
I'm not
rationalize
the
with
person.
a
I tell people all the time,
2-year-old?
don't ask me because I do. I probably am not the one you want to ask how to raise your children. I do not do gentle parenting whatsoever. So,
Yeah, hey, gentle-ish,
Ish. They do get whoopings here and there.
I'm
I
very
don't beat them
gentle when
every
they're
day.
asleep. I'm very
Yeah,
gentle.
but they do get whoopings over here. So I mean,
Yeah,
But it was tough because now I look back, I had like postpartum depression, and when you going through it, like I knew something was off, but like you still gotta make sure this kid lives. Like I gotta feed you, like you gotta survive.
Yeah.
So then I stayed at home for I did. I don't know, think about it until the second kid. And then the second kid, I didn't think I would do. I got this figured out, right? I'm thinking I got it figured out. Don't have it figured out. So I think I went up. It wasn't as bad as the first one, but I went through a little bit of postpartum again, and I'm just like, I can't do this. Like this two is enough. Like if I go through a third one, I might not make it. And so we had been in Jonesboro since 2007, and so I'm like, I was over Jonesboro, and so we had friends in College Station that we would come visit like during the holidays. And he does real estate, and Jabari does, he sells real estate now. Yeah. And so basically the market is better here. Like he could sell one house, he would have to sell equivalent of like 2 to 3 houses to make it match. So that partly the reason why we moved here. Makes sense. Then our friends had, they have rental property. They had just fired their property manager. And so I started doing property management, which I don't love. I'm good at it just because it's my personality. But again, I had figured out how to make it run, be self-sufficient. So I'm just like, I need something else. So then I started doing the custom home building. And so I kind of I do like construction and the custom home building houses because it's always something comes up in construction that you got to figure out. So, so now, and then I don't work there anymore.
That's
anyway,
great.
I don't work there no more. And so now I'm back. Caroline, I am back at the house. Who would have ever thought? I am homeschooling my children, Caroline. Like, what? This is not Shania. This is not the Shania that you know. And so
that's okay.
And I picked up gardening. I think it's for my
gardening. Stop.
Produce. I'm not planting flowers, but I like in COVID. I was so it's like
you're a COVID gardener. Got it.
Yes, I'm a COVID gardener, but it like I didn't think I would enjoy it. I enjoy it so much, like growing my own food. I have officially, the end goal for me is to have a homestead and be self-sufficient. That's the end goal.
Okay.
Once I'm self-sufficient, you can come out to the homestead
build it
anytime.
You can custom build it.
I'm gonna build my own house. We're gonna have a greenhouse and a pond. You can come out anytime.
A schoolhouse. Okay.
Come out anytime to the homestead.
One-way ticket.
One-way ticket to the homestead.
We're going. Hey, we're going to College Station.
And so this in More Than 94 is literally. I had the idea, but it wasn't called More Than 94. Obviously, I stole the name from Peeps, but it was before. It was like neighborhood heroes because I felt like if you're going to end up in the community, right? So you're either going to be a bank, you know what I'm saying? Whether it's a banker, whether it's a whatever. Yeah. People don't know those stories. So it started off like kind of like that kind of idea. Yeah. And then I just did it this way. But that's how
I love this. Came. I think what you're doing is awesome. I think it's things that need to be talked about. I think we're all college athletes and now we're just everyday people.
Everyday people.
But we still have that side of us that it's like, oh, okay, you're still the same person.
Yes.
You've grown, which is great.
Yeah.
But it's fun to see both. Like I see flashes of you in one way, and then I see flashes of you who you are now, and I think it's awesome.
And I just think it's awesome how you can, like we couldn't think about doing nothing else because all we could do was think about playing basketball in this century. We couldn't do like I didn't know that I would like gardening because we didn't have time to figure out what hobbies we really liked unless
we were just defined by being an athlete. All that time commitment. And no one was telling us or talking to us about, I know
like life after.
Yeah. I don't feel like that was talked about at all.
No.
And I'm hoping it's different now. I don't know. I feel like college athletics is completely different now, but I definitely feel like, that wasn't something that was ever really like discussed.
Yeah. And I think I've talked to a few people and it's like, it's not, now it's hard to like transition. Like it's hard to figure out like how to transition from being somebody, you know what I'm saying? Somebody telling you got to be at practice at 6:00. You got weights this time. You got this day. Then transitioning where nobody's telling you where you have to
Yeah.
be, when you have to be, and how you have to do it. And just,
Yeah.
I was low key kind of, by the time I was graduated college and basketball, I was a little bit happy that it was over. But
Yeah. I mean, I think kind of like what you were saying, it's like sometimes you don't really think about things until a later point of being like, oh, I think that's what I was feeling at that point in my life.
well,
I mean, because when I think about being a college athlete, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm this far removed from it. I'm like, I can't believe I did that. I can't believe I survived that.
right,
Every
right,
day showing up, being challenged in such a way that no one would be able to challenge me like that right now.
no,
I'm older. There's no way someone would be able to coach me at a high volume, yelling at me today. And
no.
I'm just like, how did we do that for 4 years? And
You would never get that same experience ever in no other place. Like, there's no other place to get that, like
yeah,
that same kind of environment for somebody to just be
yeah,
screaming at you, touch the whatever it is, touch the line, blah blah
yeah,
blah.
yeah, yeah.
So you said you had you foster. Can you kind of how do you navigate fostering? Like that's
I'm not sure. So we just started fostering pretty recently. This is our second placement. We've
or what made what
we've
let's back up. What made y'all start fostering? Let's start from there.
Yeah, so we wanted to start a family, and
Okay.
so we tried different ways to do that that didn't work out, and then um, honestly, I feel like the overturning of Roe v. Wade played a big role in why we wanted to start fostering. Just knowing how many kids need a safe space,
Yeah.
and so that was a big thing for us. And so this is our second placement. They've been
Okay.
here for almost 18 months.
Oh man,
They've been here a long time, this is not the typical experience for a foster kid. Usually, decisions are made sooner about the outcome, which this is just a special circumstance.
yeah. And
So
so that's
it's hard. It's hard
that's hard
to
because you
go
go
all
you get
in on your feelings, and and what the goal is going into foster care. It's reunification,
mm,
but it's also hard to balance that with your personal feelings and wanting the best for
for the child,
the
and then just
kids.
attachment. Like you get
Yeah.
attached, and
Oh,
so
I'm
that's
very attached. Yeah, I'm
so
very attached.
that's
So
kind of rough, especially when you do reunification. That's the goal because
yeah.
we had did we didn't it was foster only because we had Jabbar's nieces for like a
Oh,
year and
okay.
a half before we had our own
Okay.
kids, and
Mhm.
that but I had to keep playing in my mind. Not that it was and it sound bad because you just said you didn't, but I wasn't super attached because I knew the end goal was like they're
Yeah.
going back to their mom,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so it's just certain things like you just for me it's just like you don't do I just didn't do certain things because I know the end goal was never to stay with
Yeah.
us. It's to
Yeah.
so that
Yeah.
is
And
that
I
is
think
tough.
ours is a little different, and the goals have changed multiple
Yeah,
times, and so I feel like that's where this has been for our second placement. It's like, wow, this is a lot,
yeah,
you know, not just for us, but for the kids too.
yeah, to
So,
go from
and they're really young,
yeah,
so it's
that's
like they
tough.
don't necessarily know what's
No,
going on, and so
yeah. But y'all can
it'll
use
just
that
be
and
interesting.
adopt, right? Y'all can do fostering and then do fostering to adopt, right?
Yes, you can. I mean, they don't particularly
Um.
use that terminology since the goal is reunification. But there's different things like in the state. I'm trying to think of there's a website that in order to adopt off this website, you have to be a licensed home. So if you go through the
Oh,
classes and
okay.
get licensed with the state, then you could immediately adopt from this. I'm trying to think what the website's called. I guess it doesn't matter. But you could do that, yes.
Okay. So what have you learned about yourself during fostering? Because that's, I mean, it's you raising
What have I
kids, like,
learned?
because
I've learned
that's
that
tough. That's the hardest job ever.
it is hard. Like when you're saying,
Parenting is the hardest job ever. Now that I know, my mom and them, they
hardest.
did the best they could do.
Yeah. Yes. I feel like I've just learned that Auntie C energy is very different than Mama C energy, and
Yeah. Yes.
I think I've
Yes.
learned that I can do it.
Yeah.
I think that we've done a really good job. I think I've learned patience. I've learned better ways to communicate with a toddler, and trying to, create a safe space to, I love that you're screaming. I love that it's a happy scream, but can we use a softer tone? Like,
Or like, stop
come
screaming
on.
while I'm screaming to tell you to stop screaming. Like, what are we doing?
It's such a roller coaster experience. I feel like it's helped me, grow closer to my family, my sister, um, us as a team, before big events, we just look at each other. We're on the same team. We're on the same team. It's 2-on-2. Let's go. It's getting through it. And
it's for sure a team
it's
effort.
hard. It's hard.
It's
you
hard.
know?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I'm glad I'm doing it at this age, because I feel like I'm the best version of myself now.
Yeah.
I mean, how old were you when you had your first? I just
30.
think, like,
30. I was
people
30.
that were young and had kids, I'm just like, how?
There's no way. I told somebody I will wait till I'm 50. There's no way. I'm gonna wait till I'm 50 where I done all I can do. I ain't worried about trying to go outside. Like 30 and 50 years old, if it wasn't geriatric, that's the ideal age for me. But 30 is kind of late per
30 is
society.
Yeah, per whoever told us it's late. I get it. Yeah. So hats off to parents. I do think it's the hardest job.
Yeah, and I had a realization, like, because before I'm like, stay-at-home moms, they ain't out there doing nothing. Like, they ain't doing. Listen, I had to apologize to all stay-at-home moms, because
you should.
It is so easy, like, because they've been going to daycare, and that. So Houston did like Mother's Day out in Jonesboro, and then when we got here, they did daycare maybe a year. But like, it's so much easier to just get your kid ready in the morning and drop them off. It's so easy to do that. Now that I'm home 24/7 with. Not even just babies, because I feel like babies is a different kind of. I didn't like the baby stage, but it was just like it's a different kind of neediness. And so now it's 2 of them. It's 5 and 3. They fight all day. Like, I have to keep them occupied. They're boys, and this whole time I'm like, I just want boys. Boys are another breed. Like, when I tell you the energy level is on 30,000 at all times, and I'm not the fun parent.
So we have a boy and girl.
Boy and girl.
And they're 2 and 3. They're like
nice.
So everything you're saying, I'm like, oh yeah, 2 boys, no way.
2 boys.
We have 2. My sister has 2 boys.
Yeah.
And I think right now she's lucky because it's 1 and 6. But
that's a good gap. So that's a good gap, because I felt like when I had Harlem, because it's Houston and Harlem. When I had Harlem. Houston was 2, so he's still technically a baby. He can't go get a diaper. He can't go warm up a bottle. Like, you can't really help. Like, and so it was tough at that age, and now it's not as tough because they're getting more self-sufficient.
Yes,
but it's still it's other kind of toughness. It's still other kind of like, why are y'all fighting? Why why am I breaking up fights every 2 seconds? Like, why y'all just can't play with each other? Like, why are we doing like? And it's now the oldest is asking all the questions, and I'm like, dude, just because. I don't know. I don't know.
All the questions.
And he's such my personality, so I just try not to. I'm like, that is so me. Like, and I just was like,
paying for your raisins. What I feel like is what they call it.
That's what they call it, because we got one of each. So the youngest is Jabari, and the oldest is me. And so
there you go.
That is the toughest job, and I didn't think, because I struggled with that, because I was like, I'm supposed to be out here, running some company, blah, blah, blah. And Greg Mitchell, Greg.
Greg Mitchell?
Greg Mitchell said, he said, parenting is don't let nobody tell you that is the most important number 1 job. Because I thought I was out here I was like, I don't be at home with these kids. There's like, I'm not changing anybody's life. I'm not doing nothing for anybody by staying at home with two kids.
Yeah.
So that was tough. Listen.
I bet.
That was tough.
It's
still tough.
I'm like,
this guy got nothing on. So listen, I will get up at 6 a.m. any day and go to practice right now. Like, sign me up. Sign me up. Sign me up for 2 days in the Boyer Mile. Like, sign me up today.
No.
Sign me up, girl. I'm telling you right now.
I am triggered by the word Boyer Mile.
Sign me up any day. I have to deal with these kids every day. Listen. Sign me up.
Oh goodness.
What
Well,
what could you, looking back, young
mm-hmm.
Caroline, what would you
Oh
tell her,
boy.
like going through college?
Yeah.
Like, what would you have done different, or what would you tell somebody to, like, what would you tell another Caroline that's coming through college
Yeah.
about that transition from stopping sports and become uh, a member of society, essentially?
My gosh, that's such a good question. I think I would just try to keep your confidence level up. I mean, I feel like, in a sense, as an athlete, I feel like you have all this confidence. You're
Yeah,
like, you have a team, you have this
yeah.
unity, you've got everybody's with each other, it's you against everybody else. And then, when you go into the real world, you don't have that identity of a team anymore. It's
Mm,
just you.
that
And I
camaraderie.
think that, I think also like I think confidence can just be a hard thing when you're leaving a group and just kind of being out on your own.
Yeah.
I think also after like 4 years of kind of being, questioned every day about what you're doing and coached up and stuff, to then go into the real world and just that transition is hard of just
Mm-hmm.
not having sometimes just the self doubt of like, oh, can I do this? And I
Right.
think just, talking to yourself positively, as best you can, that positive self talk of, you can do it and keeping I don't know, the energy up.
Yeah,
So
that's good. Because
I think
that is good, because you do kind of. I've struggled with like being in corporate America, like not having that team. Like, people don't realize if you didn't play for a team, or if you wasn't a team player, because there's people that play for team that just wasn't a team player, but like they don't
yeah.
understand. They don't
Hmm.
understand the impact the team can make, and that kind of
Yeah.
frustrates me. Like,
Yeah.
you have a role, like play your role and do your
Yeah.
role well. You're not less of a person because we just use you to shoot, Caroline, or they like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like
Hey, you got buckets because I was on the court,
that's
you
right.
know?
So that's what I'm saying. So like, I just think sometimes the corporate American people are so like consumed with like self and like, well, I'm just like, but it
Yeah.
would be
I
much
think
better
some
if
of
you
that though
operate in
is
a corporate.
leadership. I don't
Yeah,
I don't necessarily feel like sometimes that's that person. I think at the end of it all goes back to leadership.
top
At
down
your
for sure.
attitude
Yeah,
reflects leadership. Corporate America. Well, who's the coach on that corporate America team?
yeah,
How's he or she treating their players? And what's being communicated. I don't
yeah.
know. It's just also interesting because corporate America is very much like sports to me.
It is. It is, and
So,
that's I'm like,
and I
y'all.
think that's why I did like it because it was like there is so much transition about what
If it's
the
done well,
mindset you have in sport. Yes, yeah,
if you got your
exactly.
if it's done well, it does. But most of the time, it ain't done too well. But and then you try to help it, and then you try to do something and it's like, but
Yeah,
that's corporate America for you.
yeah. What would you say? Like, what would you tell college Nini?
I don't know. I think I would say
Like, do you ever think about college and think that was
I
a
would.
great experience, or do you think, God, that was so hard? Like, because I
I
have
think
both
for
instances where I'm like, oh, I'm so glad I did that, and then sometimes I'm like, man, I wish I would have just went somewhere else. Like,
yes, like sometimes I think about it. 'Cause I'm like,
why
and I
didn't
think
I
of
do
it because
that?
I was injured, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
like
I don't.
whatever, God.
And talk. That's a whole thing that you need to talk about. Is how do you? Because I have that thought too. I'm like, I'm so lucky I never got hurt.
Yeah,
Like, you didn't just get hurt once. How do
twice.
you come back for an injury? I couldn't do it.
Listen, and I'm just
I
like,
already
when
know.
I listen,
I already know. I ain't gonna be running a Boyer mile after I tear my
I'm
ACL. I'll
like,
tell you
oh,
that
my
much.
knee hurts still. I can't do it. I don't know. I just thought, like, for me in my mindset, it was like college. Yes, college was important. Basketball, and I love basketball, and I love competing. And I don't even like the games
Yeah,
weren't a big deal to me. I love practice, because practice you can run, like, it was just fun to me. Practice was fun.
yeah,
But looking back, I had so much tunnel vision that I didn't do. Like, I didn't have fun. I don't feel like outside of basketball.
yeah.
I was just so
Yeah.
concerned about just showing up for practice,
Yeah.
and I
I
didn't
feel like we're
do
similar in that way.
nothing.
I don't feel like I did anything fun in college
No.
until we lost our last game. And then it was like Fun Caroline took over.
That's
And
what I'm saying. Like
Fun
somebody told
Caroline
me that.
stayed around for years.
Yes. Same here. They're like, we would if people knew you were this fun in college, you wouldn't. I was like, listen, I had to I just had to focus on that because if I would listen, I just
Yeah.
had to
I'm like,
focus on
I
that.
can't run a mile drunk, like
A dry,
hungover. I
like
mean, I
hung
can't.
over.
I can barely run it now, and I'm running it twice a week.
Like, what? But yeah, I don't. I
Running the
miss the.
actual mile and the makeup mile. I mean,
Whoa,
come on.
yes, that was terrible. Yeah, I think just having fun outside of that, but also just and it's hard. And I've heard people say, well, like think about other things you want. Like it's hard to tell an 18-year-old to be like, you need to start thinking about like what else you're good at. Outside of like, because you're not thinking about that. Your time is way too consumed. Only thing I would tell people, and I would tell like the Shay Scotts and people like that, I'm like, listen, I get you may not like going to class, but their job is to, because people get in their feelings about it, and we keep our feelings out of it, and I know that's hard for some people.
Yeah.
They care about you to a certain extent, right? You're gonna have those except those outliers like a coach keeping up with you, but like their job is dependent on a bunch of 18 to 20 something year old kids, right?
Yeah.
That's their livelihood.
Can you imagine? God, I can't imagine
So
being this
their
age being
job is
like,
not to right, and I'm like, their job is not to worry about you after you finish bouncing that ball. It's just not. And I know that's hard to put into play because like you just think, oh, they no, like you graduate, you can't help them win a basketball game anymore. So their focus is now taken off of you. And so I feel like me approaching it that way, like at any point, those injuries, like I could have decided not to, like even my last year, Caroline, I had blood clots in my lungs. Like it was one thing after another. And I could have read sure that's like you might no, basketball is done. Like I'm not. I will come back in the end half of the season and just have to play the end half of the season. But I'm just like knowing like that's their job, that's how they feed their family. You can't get too offended by like them moving on to the next person because it's a job and that's their job. And I feel like if some athletes get caught up in, well, they don't like me or blah blah blah, but like their job is to win. And if they don't win, you ain't got to worry about them no more. You ain't got to worry about seeing them no more because they gonna be fired. Okay, so like,
and you probably won't be there then.
But like, so you gonna transfer, and now you got the transfer portal. So I don't even know. Like, it's probably teams that don't even stay together for 4 years anymore. I doubt it. Like the same core people now, but I think I just had that in mind. Yeah. So that's like that, and just had some more fun. I've had fun after college, but
I definitely feel like I think everyone should try to just have a college experience, and maybe college kids are better at that now than we were. Because kids are so different to me.
Yeah, they are so different.
I'm just like I can't even imagine what that experience is like now. Just to be the experience of being recruited now, the experience of being on a campus now, both good and bad.
Yeah, I mean, getting money. Boosters can actually give you money now without getting in trouble. Like, I can imagine what that parking
these
lot
kids are getting
like.
paid. I mean,
like
seriously.
the stuff that those kids were driving around Arkansas State wasn't bad. I'm like, if they had NIL money, listen, that parking lot would have had 10 Cybertrucks on there.
Oh gosh,
it would have been bad.
Yeah, I mean, I do wish that like one thing I wish that would have been better for like our experiences. I do wish there was more still camaraderie after being done playing.
Yeah,
because you go through so much, and it's like, no, I'm not necessarily friends with everyone, but like we have this common thing that was so hard, and we all got through it together.
Yeah,
and like you see different like bigger like UConn, for example. Like I feel like their camaraderie between their different generations of players. And I was like, man, I wish I had that.
Yeah,
because I think that's so cool.
That is cool.
Like like they invested so much in all those players that they're all still there. They all come back. There's this unity about just that university's culture.
Mm-hmm.
I'd wish that you saw more of that at places.
Yeah, because even though I stayed, I I went to a handful of games, but it's not as
Yeah.
much as I probably should have living in Jonesboro. Like, I didn't keep
Yeah.
up that much.
Yeah. Which
So
is
yeah,
like
that
there's
is.
not any. I think they've done one reunion, but I don't feel like there's ever any like let's get together. I mean,
Right.
I'm just saying. I just feel like that's one I see with different schools. I'm like, oh, that's so cool that they do that.
That they do
Like,
that, yeah.
there's still the closeness and like I don't know, just that network of
And I
staying
don't
in
even know
touch.
what's going on unless if I didn't have social media, I definitely wouldn't know what's going on with
Yeah.
half the people if I didn't have social media.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what's going on with anyone besides Brittany.
Brittany, I'm like Brittany. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
Jazz. She lives in a couple hours away from us.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
and Angie
That's good.
Kreiner. I still keep up with Angie even though she
Oh,
bounced
oh,
out.
Angie. Yeah, I was gonna say, who all do you keep up with?
That's about it. That's about it. That's about it.
I
Yeah.
know, but when you think of that, isn't that sad a little
That
bit?
is sad because there's like so many people like I can think of right now. I'm just like, dang, like why didn't
Yeah.
we keep up? I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe just life
Well,
start
and
life.
also, yeah, lifestyle. Life starts life.
Life
Wow.
starts a life thing.
Yeah,
So bad, but
that's true. Well, that makes me feel better. I'm just like, who can keep up with everybody? I mean, nobody can. But
No.
I do think sometimes, like, oh, I was there for 4 years and, like, I only keep up with
But
one
we should
person.
have something that you could come back at least once a year that we
Once
keep up.
every, it's kind of like high school reunions, you
Yeah,
know? Like,
once
I wish there
every
was something like
whatever.
that, just like one check in every 5 years or something. Everybody just comes to Jonesboro. We all bring our
Yeah.
fun selves, who we are now.
That's right. It's our
Like,
fun selves, like everybody.
yeah, we can all. We're
I
all
feel like
adults,
everybody
you know?
is like a parent though too. Now I look like I think everybody's like
Yeah,
almost a parent. Everybody's like got kids or parenting,
yeah.
and
Uh huh.
it's rough out
To
here.
get childcare, I guess. I don't know.
Hey, we listen. We gonna have to bring all the kids. We are gonna have to put them somewhere.
Yeah.
What are
Yeah.
some? Then I'll let you go. But what are
Okay.
like one last thing that you hope the people listening would get from this podcast episode today?
I think probably that life is hard and challenges are going to come up, and it's really about you to figure it out. And you can.
Yeah.
And you can, and you will.
Yeah.
And it's not
There you
going to
go.
look like how you think it will.
Yep.
And embrace that and lean into it, and don't be afraid to don't do something you don't enjoy, and figure out what fulfills you.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
That's good. Well, that is Gabe.
If I'ma start it, you know I'ma finish it. I'ma show all of you folk with the businesses. Walk